Okay, so we already talked over what the command pattern is in the previous welcome video. Now let's really focus on Robot.java. Look at all the what's happening here. I'm going to throw out some terms like instantiate and static. Some of these will be a little bit more advanced. They're discussed in AP Computer Science, not necessarily um, too easy to wrap your head around at this point, but I'll do my best. The first thing that we'll look at is package. The package just really refers to the folder. So by saying FRC robot, saying look inside FRC folder, look inside robot, here it is, link all of the files together from this package. So anytime, every Java file typically has this as their first line just to connect it with any other Java files in that folder. Cool. Now that I'm importing a bunch of other stuff, WPI lib. I think this is Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Connecticut. In Massachusetts, and they produce every year a library of helpful tools. They update it all the time, and it has stuff that we can use. All of our controllers, all of our motors. We don't actually have to tell the computer how to manage the specific electrical signals. Those are all kits that are built in. We just need to find the right thing and import it. These are different. You can see they're importing stuff from our own file. So FRC robot commands and subsystems. This is how I'm pulling in these other files into here. And I wouldn't necessarily have to do this if these connected to a different to the same package, but they're in the commands package. So one alternative to the robot is to this as just importing the entire commands package. So I think I probably get away with that by doing like commands.star, and now I'm getting all of the commands imported here. I don't need to do that. It's helpful to be more explicit, but you can. So now here I'm declaring variables. These are class variables. So on any other file, I can I can grab this robot file, and then I can do dot gripper, dot msystem, dot moi. So dot driving McDriver Driverson. So these are our subsystems, and this is a utility. So I'd sort this out by doing this, and then I'd say subsystems, and so that way I have them sort of organized a little bit nicer. The OI, we've already talked about that in the last file. Why don't I? Is it a static class? Public? No, it's alright. It needs to be instantiated. So when you create the OI, then the method that has the same name as its class, that's called the constructor. This runs. So by me doing this command, public static OI direction, when I instantiate it down here, this is just declaring the spot. This is actually building it. That new command is the constructor, the trigger for the constructor that runs here, and then wires up all of these buttons when I make a new one. So that's my OI. Okay, and then I create all of these systems, and now you can see when I create them, it would trigger any constructor here, but I don't think commands, we use a constructor here. Here's the constructor. All it does is when it's instantiated, it registers what subsystem it requires. So if anything happens, it'll grab the subsystem and interrupt any other commands. So that's what's happening. I'm just registering these things. Here, command, autonomous command, no idea what that is. Just don't know. Autonomous command. We declare it, we don't do anything with it. Don't know why. Sendable chooser. Alright, so this is for our control system on the driver station. The chooser is code that we took from the FRC website that allows us to select a command from a drop-down menu. And so that way we can select which auto startup script to do at the beginning of like a, say, autonomous mode. Or I can toggle what a button does through a drop-down or something crazy like that. And then we have our sensor here. We should not have any sensors being declared here. Sensors should be a part of the subsystem that they help. If they're sensors to help us drive, they should be a part of the drive subsystem. If they're a sensor to help us with a gripper or something, then they should be in that subsystem. This should not be here. To do, please move. Okay. All right. So this is us declaring stuff. So that way, in any other file, if I talked to the robot, if I needed something from the robot, I'd do robot dot, and then I could say driver set, and that's the name of my drive subsystem. So the drive command can refer to the drive subsystem through this way. So the robot is the mothership. It contains all of the stuff. So if we want to talk to a subsystem or to power a motor or anything like that, we start with robot dot, we get the subsystem, and then we get what part of the subsystem we want to use. If I look at the drive subsystem, after wiring up, there's a lot of motors. I link them together through this mechanism drive, and I give them all those motors I just created. And now my mechanism drive is the composition of all of this stuff. So that's why over here in this drive command, I say, hey, go to the robot file, find the instantiated drive system, and then inside that drive system, get me the composed motors. And those motors, I want you to drive Cartesian style with this data. So that's the drive command. All right. So those are why I set those up here. And some shouldn't be here. The sensor should be, I can use it in other files like this, but I'd want to do something like robot dot drive system dot the sensor I want to use. Give me the distance that you're seeing. That way they exist inside the appropriate subsystem. Okay. Because what if another command was running at the same time and also trying to use the same thing? We get into trouble. It's best to have them built into the subsystems so we interrupt and use them appropriately as needed. Okay. Let's see here. I'm setting, all right, mchooser. So the default option on my drop-down menu is this example command. Again, we're not using any of that. And we're saying, okay, now on my smart dashboard, on the window when I'm running my driver station, give me a drop-down on what autonomous mode script you want me to run. And so that's all that's happening at the boot up here. Robot periodic is and should be mostly blank, because we used to have tons of stuff in here, but the robot periodic and teleop periodic is pretty empty now, because that'll be inside drive execute. Drive execute, drive command execute, sorry, has the logic of controlling our robot that we used to stick all inside of like teleop periodic. Now it's pretty bare bones. It's just saying, okay, are there any scheduled events that are ready to run? If so, run them. Otherwise, just give me a printout of my average power so I can tell if my battery is low. I don't know what this magic number is, but anyway, so just give me a printout here, and that's it. Autonomous mode, same thing, is get anything that's scheduled to run and run it. So that's almost the entire robot file. It's the teleop periodic and autonomous periodic. Autonomous and init is, oh yeah, it says, okay, get the selected script from the. So when autonomous mode gets started in our game, it'll load that script, and then if it doesn't equal null, then run that script. So that's that. I don't know exactly how to build what this autonomous command jazz should look like, but I assume it's just going to be a simple example command. Yeah, so it'll just run like any other script. The dot start thing is what I'm being hung up on, because there's no method here called start. So right here I can see that says, hey, command start. And if I told this subsystem command, if I told the example command to start, it knows how to execute, is finished, but how does it know how to start? Well, it might not be defined here, but its parent method might have a start. If I go to this command, how does it not know what that is? It should. I don't think all of my code loaded here. I should have all the background WPI stuff. Yeah, I might need to reinstall because I can't look up the command code for a command here. Can I see here? Go to definition. Yeah. So it's not linked up to all of my libraries, and that means my environment has some flaws in it. Okay, let me look this up the other way. I don't know if I'm looking in the right place, but just to try to illustrate what I'm talking about, here's the command interface. This is what the definition of a command is. What I mean by that is, when I say extends command, I'm saying my example command here is a type of command. And my robot will have this whole library of from WPI, and it will know what a command is. And so maybe that's how it understands the this command.start. Autonomous command, what type of thing is that? Yeah, so it is just a very loose command. So here it's just a raw command. So here's the definition of a command. And I see that it has a before start, but I don't see a start method here. And so I'm still wondering how it knows what dot start is. So when I do that dot start, how does it know what I'm talking about? Yeah, right here. It's just going to have to be a mystery. Where did the start command come from? If my code was better installed, I'd be able to go to this definition. But I need to work on that, is what I'm learning here. Okay, let's back out of this thought and let's just review. Our robot class creates a bunch of static variables that can be called from other files, as we talked about. We can give them all sorts of ridiculous names if we want, and then we instantiate our subsystem and hold it here. Okay. Then we run some commands automatically when our robot first powers on. And then, for the most part, nothing too much happens in this file because all of the commands have most of that logic built into their stuff. Take a look, watch it over, let me know if you have any questions or ideas on how we can do our thing.